Hi, David Odell here with Odell Complete Concrete. Actually, this is not really the first day on the job because I did work in the front of this house. So this is really a phase two of another job. But we're going to just concentrate on the backyard here today. We're going to do a room addition. So it's a foundation. We've got some inspections. That electrical is going to get moved as well. That's covered with the blue tarp. They're going to put a new panel in there and upgrade, I believe, to a 200 ampere. The portion of this patio is coming out. The French door, the opening you see there, those were double French doors with some side panels. That's going to get moved to the side of the new addition. So here's the drawing. Here's some of the footing details. And what it is it's 2 feet deep and it's 1 foot wide. And you've got 2 1/2-inch top. You got 2 at bottom horizontally all the way around the footing. You even have a footing along the existing building. It's just a little more narrow, but the depth is still the same. So it's actually it's interesting. The detail shows 12, and then that showed 16, I think. I don't know. I don't have my reading glasses on right now. That's another thing. When I ended up laying this out, I didn't have my reading glasses, and it looked like a 15 when it was actually 16. And I caught that just by chance. After I'd already dug it out, I started looking at it again to put my forms in. I went, this looks kind of like a 16 here, not a 15. So I ended up with a 2 foot wide footing basically instead of 1 foot wide. Instead of backfilling it and trying to compact it, all of that, it's small enough where I just overdug it. Now this concrete I'm breaking out was similar to how I do concrete normally. Number 3 rebar at 2 foot centers. So when I was breaking it out with the breaker attachment, I just went down the bars and it broke it right off the steel. And you could even potentially reuse the steel if it's not rusted and this steel is in really good condition. Or you can call a metal scrap guy and they can pick it up for free and haul it away for you. Recycle it. And right here I'm breaking the stucco off the side of this building because I want to see the floor level. Since we have to pour concrete against that floor, I want to make sure we're at the bottom of the plate, so in case they move some walls around, they'll be flush going in and out of the addition to the existing. Now that French door is going to get moved to the side of the building. It's not going to be going out the back anymore. Now we've put some lines out on the grass, squared it up, painted it out, and cut it with a shovel. Now I can just scoop it up, throw it in a wheelbarrow, and wheel it out to the bin, to the trailer, dump trailer. Right now this particular layout that I have here is 15. After I got it all dug out, that's when I caught it that it was supposed to be 16. So we ended up with a 2 footer, like I said. Bigger's always better though. Smaller isn't. Especially when you're dealing with inspections. So I've got to dig this down. I believe it was 9 inches. Yes, 9 inches below top of floor because we have 5-inch deep concrete slab. Then we have 4 inches of sand. So that's 9 inches, and that's how much dirt we removed. The lawn level at this one end is about 1.5 inches lower than top of foundation or top of slab, which means that lawn's going to have to be cut down to get final inspection on. I was able to dig out a portion, probably half of this footing, just with the bucket of the vermeer. So now we just have to dig half of it out by hand. Also, we're going to be doing rebar dowels into the side of the foundation. And they're going to be 1/2-inch dowels, so we're going to drill 9/16 holes. We're going to blow it out, high pressure air and brush. And we're going to have special inspection or deputy inspector observing all that. That'll go into the packet that the city inspector will take a look at, and everything will be verified that it was done correctly, and the right epoxies used, the depths, the cleanliness of the holes, all those little details. The concrete PSI on this one's going to be a 2500 PSI, which is nice because that means no special inspection. If you get over that, depending on what city or state you're in, you may need a deputy inspector to observe the pour, check the slump, see how much water has been added, see how long the concrete's been in the truck. A lot of little details. But 2500, no worries. The funny thing about this existing house, when we started drilling into the side of it, we realized it's actually a block foundation, and a lot of them aren't even solid grouted because we started drilling and went, wow, this is hollow. So we had to keep drilling until we found some solid ones and figured out the layout, how they designed it, and then we started hitting the solid blocks, and that's where you want to put your dowels. They're not going to do much good on a hollow block. And they look like 8-inch block as well, and they're turned sideways, so I don't know. I'd never seen block, and they have a ledge on the block too, so for supporting maybe some brick on the outside if you wanted to. They had a little ledge within the block. Interesting. So here we verified, we laser leveled this in initially. Now we're just going to cross verify it with the Milwaukee red stick there. And it checked out, so the laser level is working. There's that extra wide footing. The best thing about this is it caught it before we poured, or before we got inspection. Inspector probably no one would have caught it until the framers came in, actually. But since luckily I caught it ahead of time. But in the future, wear glasses. If reading glasses, bring them. If you're going to be reading drawings or anything to do with numbers. Now we're checking the elevation here. We're going top of slab, top of form, and we need our 9 inches. That allows for the concrete and the sand, because it's calling for 2 inches of sand, 6-inch mill plastic with 2, so it's 2 over and under 6 mil visqueen. That's how it would read on a drawing. Here's that little ledge I was talking about on that block. You kind of see it there. I think that's designed to set your stucco on top, or your brick ledge, or possibly. I'm not real sure. I haven't seen that, which is surprising. Here's your clean wash sand. We just dump that in the street, pick it up, take it to the back. We had an option on the plan too. We could have went with gravel, clean gravel, but I like the sand better because it seems to support dobies without as much displacement of the material. I've noticed when you use the gravel, the dobies kind of bury themselves, therefore the steel goes down, which is not good. It's quite a bit of weight when you're dealing with 1/2-inch steel on 16-inch centers in both directions. Now the nice thing about the sand is once you put it down, that's as compact as it's going to get. It's 100% on right when it hits the ground, 100% compaction. First layer of sand's in, visqueen, and now the second layer of sand. So what's going to happen is we're going to cut the lawn down. It will be after the building is completed. We'll cut the lawn around the outside perimeter. We'll put a walkway around it, because with the concrete on the outside of the building, you only have to be from top of concrete to top of slab in the building 2 inches. If it's to dirt, you have to be 6 inches. So concrete's the way to go if you don't want to dig the whole yard down. Now here's the rebar dowels. You can take a look. You kind of see the score lines in the block there. They're about 8 inches wide, and it's got like about a 3/4 of an inch lip out there. If anybody knows what that is or what it's for, let me know in the comments. And also let me know if they know the actual length of the block, 'cause I know it looks like it's 8-inch width, or maybe that's the length. I don't know. I've never seen them. So this is PSI, about 150 PSI compressed air. We brush and blow, because the inspector will check that before we can even put the epoxy in. We're using the Simpson XP, and that's real common on every plan. Simpson everything, really. Simpson bolts, Simpson's a pot. Pretty much anything structural is going to always probably say Simpson on it. That's a rebar bender cutter over there. And these dowels are 2 foot 6 inches long, so we'll have a 2 foot lap and a 6 inch embedment. Now right here we saw cut the existing slab right on the outside exterior wall, nice and straight. So we're gonna form on top of it. That way we salvage the whole patio and it still looks good. I'm using 3/16 inch tap cons to attach this plate, which will support my 2x4 upright for my form. Before they had the mason screws, we just used like a 3/8 or 1/2 inch and drive rebar dowels, and you have a big hole in the concrete. And then they came out with these, and it makes it so much easier for stripping, and it doesn't leave such big holes in the concrete, barely visible really. And then we'll use wood screws to attach that to the plate. The actual concrete level here, it starts at the top of the 2x4 at the house, and it drops down to about 1 inch. So we're gonna snap. You can see it there. It's about 1 inch. So we'll snap a chalk line on the inside instead of ripping the 2x4. This way I can just reuse the 2x4 and it's still whole. And as you can tell, I use those 2x4s many times already, and I'll probably use them many more times. Now here's a Craftsman measuring tape. I'm really like this measuring tape here. This Craftsman, Lowe's is carrying them now, and they seem to be really solid. Had it for about 3 or 4 weeks, and it's still working like the day I got it, which is kind of surprising. That rebar you see going across, that's just supporting all my horizontals, my 2 bars top and bottom. I'll just hang everything off of those, and I won't even need any dobies at all. And then once I get my floor steel tied in, my 16-inch on center for the slab tied in and dobied up, then I can tie off the turn downs from the slab rebar to those horizontals, and then I can almost pull those braces out and the other steel will hold it up. But I'll wait and pour in and get that bottom bar locked in, and I'll pour it to the bottom of the form, and then I'll start sliding those out, those cross braces that hold everything up. And by the way, the pour is actually going to be on part 2. So this is just going to be getting it ready for inspection and the dig out. I use a 4-foot steel stake right there to hold them up. Now we don't have the dowels in yet because the deputy inspector was coming later in the day, so we just continued working. We did all the steel first before the dowels. You can go either way. You can do your dowels first and tie off. It doesn't really matter, but inevitably you want to line up everything with the holes so you can tie to it, although it's not required, but it does look nicer if everything lines up. Now all these rebars that are going in both directions, they have a 1-foot turn down in them. So if say we're 16 feet out from the building, we need a 17-footer with a 1-foot turn down. Plus you need to take away how much 3 inches back from the edge of form. So my lengths were 16 foot 9 inches with a 1-foot turn down. And then that gives me my 2-foot overlap on the dowels that are coming out of the house. Now we're getting ready to drop in all the hold downs. That's for your anchor bolts. We've got some let's see, what are they? They're SSTBs, and that's the actual bolt for the hold down, the HDUs. And these are going to be 28 inches long. They have different lengths of these particular bolts, but these ones are the 28 inches. So they're going to be within 3 inches of the bottom with, I think there's 7 inches out of the concrete on these particular bolts. Now the first thing to do your layout on your bolts is you have to figure out where all your windows and doors are. So once you determine that and then determine the sizes of them, you'll know that on each side of a window and a door, that's where you're going to have a major hold down. And then once that's established, you just put your anchor bolts, whatever it calls for, on your shear wall schedule. And in this case, I think I was at 24 inch on center on the shear wall areas. And then anything else was 6 foot or maybe 4 foot, but it's all on the drawing when you really break it down. Now, all those bolts have to be pre-hung before you can get your inspection to pour. So this is the first step in getting your first inspection on a room addition. The foundation process. Yeah, that's about 7 inches up right there. Top. Anyway, that's what it looks like. And I always hang that plastic over a little bit so the inspector can see that it's in there, and they can also see the what mill it is as well. And that's kind of by feel. I like to soak the footings. I like to soak everything before I pour, at least 24 hours in advance. Anyway, thanks for watching the videos. Make sure you like and subscribe, and stay tuned for part 2 of the pour. That's always the fun part. Have a good one.